All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Today, sitting down with us is Coach Iossi. Coach Iossi, thank you for being here. Just in case nobody knows who you are, could you please introduce yourself to the loyal fans I have? Maybe 12 now? It's grown, maybe? We'll find out.
Yeah, hey, appreciate you having me on, Steve. Yeah, I'm Brian Yossi, the assistant head coach and offensive coordinator at Burlington Central High School, out with Brian Melvin, who I know you've had on the show in the past. Um, and I'm also the co-owner of Fist Football Academy, which is an O-line, D-line training company we do in the suburbs up here. So,
I promise if you say anything about Coach Melvin, I can bleep it out and he'll never know.
yeah, I know Coach Melvin. We like to razz him, but he's a good dude, good coach, fun guy to coach with for sure. So I heard you
Yeah,
guys going down your rabbit holes in your pod in that episode.
Yeah, I think his right before his podcast, I started not to be interviewish. And I think that was one where I could jump down some rabbit holes because of the East Aurora connection. So I was like, oh,
Yep.
let's go down this because being around Coach and Williams and Bausch and all them at East Aurora, I was able to be like, let's jump down some rabbit holes. And then stories he told me about them I had to take out. It's not on there. But
Oh, you had to take some of them out. Well, I am a former teammate of Coach, kind of. He was a couple years younger than I am, but I played with him at North Central. At least we passed by each other, so I know Coach pretty well too. So awesome dude too.
oh yeah, there wasn't bad stories. It was just not appropriate for podcast.
No. Yeah, no, I got you.
It was one of those, if you won a game and went out to the adult place at a, and whatever. We've all done it.
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of North Central coaches up here that went to North Central.
Yeah, you know what? And we've talked. A lot of us we talk about that often. You've got Coach East Aurora, Chris Bazant. We were just talking about Addison Trail. You got a bunch of the the alumni that coach at North Central, Tim Janisek and Shane Durking. But basically, their entire staff is a North Central alum. Gosh, you got Don Casper out at York. You've got I can't even remember Coach Sabo, who's my offensive line coach at Burlington, was a North Central grad with me. Yeah, we're all over the place. we've kind of I'm going to say infested, but we've just kind of grown, and I think the program there lends itself to developing guys that want to give back to high school football and coach, and I think that's one of the best parts. But it is a lot of fun when we get together. It's if we see each other at a bar, we see each other at one of the games. It just goes right back to playing at North Central and then coaching, and so it's just a constant coaching discussion out there. So it's a lot of fun. A lot of us out there, though, that's for sure.
Well, because at Glenbard East, I don't think there was any. I can't remember. There might be one or two. I don't remember. But then Coach was like, "Yeah, we're going to run a lot of what we ran at North Central, like the offense we ran." And then, the Coach Bausch then would give him a hard time, like, "Oh, is this what Central does?" Just give him a hard time.
Oh, and
then
you know what? Our Coach Melvin does that stuff with us too, with Sabo and I, because I base a lot, not a lot. I mean, I've been at OC for a while now, where I've transitioned some stuff away from North Central. But when I first became an OC, a large chunk of what we did, or at least the calls, were very much based off of what we did at North Central. And Melvin does the same thing all the time. Oh, is this a North Central thing? Is that yeah, it is a North Central thing. Is that okay with But
yep.
we have to razz him back. It's the North Park thing. We always kind of got to give him some crap, and he hears it's nonstop when we talk about the national championship. He's like, "Oh, great, North Central national championship. Here we go." So,
Well, I think it's easier for you guys. You have more than one coach that's from North Central. Like Coach was the only one. Like we were
right.
all over me, Bausch, Williams, and all them. We were all over the place. Like he had nobody else. If we said anything, he was by himself.
Yeah, luckily I've got Coach Sabo to back me up on some of that stuff, so it's kind of nice. But
Well, because I worked with Coach, and then when Coach Bazant called me, he told me, "Oh yeah, I went to North Central, and this is kind of linebacker stuff I look at from North Central." I'm like, "Oh, here we go again." I give him,
I'd say
and then
you can't get away from it, can you?
No, I can't. And then one of our other coaches there, Coach Beltrano, I can't remember if he went to North Central. I think he went to Elmhurst. I can't remember. He brings it up to like, oh, is this what North Central did or Coach so and so? Like, it's just, I'm like, oh, here we go again. It's the same thing here. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I think what's kind of the cool part is just how into Illinois football the CCIW. Now, obviously, I know the CCIW is based primarily, you got Illinois, Wisconsin, primarily in Illinois, but I think it's just cool how many guys you see, from the CCIW. Just, even in our coaching staff, we had our defensive line coach played at Elmhurst, Melvin played at North Park, Sabo and I played at North Central. Just within our staff alone, we've got 3 different schools represented. So I think it's really cool just seeing all well, it's cool to see the North Central stuff. I just think it's cool seeing the CCIW stuff. Wherever you go, I was at Hampshire before I was at Burlington, and we had a guy from Augie, we had a guy from Illinois Wesleyan on our staff, we had myself and Sabo again from North Central. So you just see that big kind of CCW connection, and we usually can all agree that we don't like Wheaton for whatever reason. But hey, I don't know. I don't have any reason to beat or hate Wheaton anymore. I beat him 44-20. We beat him all the time when I was there, so I don't know.
Well, and then I think that speaks a lot to Division III football. I've had some Division III coaches on here. I just talked to the head coach from Rolls Holman the other day. We're friends. I've known him for years. Coach Nick Davis. And when I coached kids, you always heard Division I or bust, Division I AA or bust. And I'm the jerk. So if you're a senior telling me that stuff and I hear it for so long, I'm like, okay, have you been recruited yet by Illinois or Northwestern or Indiana? No. I'm like, well, then it's probably not going to happen.
Yeah,
Well,
no,
I could walk on, and I'm like, yeah, you're going to walk on and never play.
right, and I think that's something that we push a lot with our kids, and we have kids that obviously between my coaching responsibilities, but then also my company that Coach Sabo and I own together, Fist. We constantly, I mean, we're training just a large group of kids, and coach, I'm not getting recruited like I thought I would, and I only got Division III, and I'm always like, man, what's wrong with Division III? And it's like a quality of life thing, not to say that Division I isn't awesome, but you're gonna go to Division III, you're gonna play, you're gonna have fun. Not that you don't do those things at Division I or anything like that, but I just think a lot of kids overlook the opportunity that Division III football gives kids, and I was the same way. I don't think it was as big back when I was in high school and I graduated in 05. Coach Saban and I were just talking about this today. Actually, you didn't have like signing days for Division III, and maybe that was the big, it was like, oh, it's not as cool to go Division III, but I wouldn't turn over my Division III time for anything. And I was recruited by one. Valparaiso was the only Division I, and I thought I was going to Valpo, was going to play there, and I actually didn't go to North Central initially. I went down to Illinois College in Jacksonville, and spent a semester there, and wasn't a big fan. I was from the suburbs and wanted to come back up, and ended up at North Central. But I think nowadays Division III does get looked down upon quite a bit, and that's what I always tell my guys. You want to play. If you truly want to play, go somewhere that the expectation is realistic for you to play. I've got a kid I train right now, and I won't say his name, but he's kind of frustrated. He's got the talent to maybe play Division II, Division I AA, and he asked me like, "What do you think, Coach?" I said, "Well, I think you're probably a solid Division I or Division II player. You could go play Division I AA and maybe start by your junior or senior year, but I think I'd want you to go play. That's what I want you to do. I want you to go have that opportunity, to get on the field." And I think a lot of kids kind of overlook that occasionally, and don't realize, how much they miss playing. And when you step on those campuses and realize you're not the big dog in town anymore, it's kind of it's a tough pill to swallow for kids. And I know it was tough for me too. You start your entire life, and then you get to even Division III. You walk into Division III campus your freshman year, like, come on, let's go all conference. I got this, and you're getting rolled over your first day by the senior lineman or whatever. So yeah, that's something we're always talking about with kids. Take the opportunities to play. You don't want to, I don't want to see you sit on the bench. I don't want to see you not play. I want to be able to, go to an Augie game, or go to a North Central game, or go to a Beloit, whatever, Rockford game and see you play. I'd rather do that than go to an Iowa game and see you standing on the sideline.
Right. Or, oh, you're a redshirt and now you're fifth year senior and then you get on the field. Like,
Right.
yeah, you have good experiences, but it's like, I don't know. It depends. Like, if you get a full ride scholarship, you're probably supposed to play. You're not going to go there and never play on a full ride
Right.
scholarship. You're going to get out there at some point. But if you're going to pay the same amount of money to go to that Division One and never play, you might as well go to a Division Three where they're actually there to help you pay for this. There's ways to make it work better than those Division Ones. Those coaches are going to work their tails off to make sure that you're not going into stupid debt like a lot of us, maybe me, go into. We should have looked at it better. But you know what I mean? Like, they're there for that reason. And then bringing up the social media thing, a coach brought this up. They want to be able to go on Twitter and post signing day, like I signed with so and so. It's probably not the cool thing to be like, oh, I signed with Illinois College. Like nobody's gonna be like, what's that? Nobody's gonna know what that is. No offense to Illinois
Right.
College, I like the coaches there, but like you know what I mean? Like
No,
it's
yeah.
not the cool thing.
Yeah, and that's something that I've talked to too. But I don't want to take down anything from a kid at all. I think it's awesome no matter where you're going. You're getting the opportunity, the offer to play. Do what you get. I just want those kids to be able to have that opportunity. So yeah, I think it's different for us. Us older guys, we didn't have Twitter, we didn't have those platforms to be able to do stuff like that. And I always think about that. If I was growing up now, what would that? I'd be doing the same thing. I'd be putting it on Twitter, I'd be putting it on Facebook. We just didn't have that stuff back when we played. So, I think it's different times, and whether a kid's signing with North Central or signing with Wisconsin, it's still awesome. It's still cool to see. It's still those kids are still getting the same opportunities to go play somewhere, whether it's that Division One or Division Three. So, but yeah, for sure, definitely different times. But
we would all be in trouble if they had Twitter, and I think we'd all be in real trouble. We talk about that all the time. Like, not that we were super, super bad, but there might have been things that got put on Snapchat or Twitter you didn't want people to find out about, and we would have gotten in trouble, I think.
Oh, for sure. And well, that's something that as a coach and as a father of my kids. My kids aren't old enough to that age yet, but that's something we're always talking to our kids about. Our athletes. Hey guys, let's be smart about what you're putting out there. We call it Twitter coaching. We coach them up on how to use Twitter and how to get as much exposure. And I think it's kind of funny that like the old guys that haven't had this their whole lives and they're learning how to use it still, are learning that. But I think it's important as coaches that, whether you're a high school coach, you're a trainer, you're whatever, I think it's important to spend time talking about that kind of stuff with your kids and your athletes, teaching them, what you should be putting out there, what you shouldn't be putting out there. That's something we do with our athletes with Fist is we're always looking at their Twitter. Hey man, let's change this. Let's update your bio, that kind of stuff. The world of Twitter, I was a big proponent, I was the guy pushing back on it, a lot. And really, I would say maybe in the last year and a half ish, maybe 2 years is when I finally was like, okay, I'm opening up to it. It took me a while, but for our business, that's the biggest tool we've had. I mean, without Twitter, I don't think we'd be where we are and what we're doing. So even for our high school team, we use Twitter. That's our main style of communication for these kids. So it's a great tool. Can be evil though.
Yeah, I'm going to say a couple things. It's almost the retweets that get you in trouble. Someone could say something and you retweet it. Well, then it looks like you're saying it. If you watch the interview with, no, I'm getting political. The guy that runs Barstool Sports, he interviewed, Donald Trump, and they talked about that. Like sometimes it's the retweets that get more in trouble than the actual tweet. So anybody that thinks I'm getting political, I'm not. So don't even start that. I'm just saying that was the first thing I thought of. Now, me and my friend, we made a Twitter when it first came out for one reason. My cousin made it. He said it's the coolest thing ever. We made it ironically to make fun of him. That's the type of people we were because we were young. So I've had it from day one, but there was years I didn't touch it because MySpace was the thing and then Facebook was the thing. So
oh yeah.
people out there don't know what MySpace is. You know, you had the top friends, and if you were on the
Oh
top
yeah.
friends, you were dead to the other person. So I've had it from day one, but it didn't, like you said, I never used it, never touched it. Then I started to use it years ago for just sports updates because I started to figure out, like, oh, if I want to get an alert about sports, I'll look at
Right.
that. Then I started to figure out coaches put things on there that are really good. It's like, okay. And then it just blew up.
Yeah.
What, yeah, what, 4 or 5 years ago, it like just blew up, I
Yeah, I think
think.
that's one of being an OC. I think that's one of my favorite tools with it. And this was the part that I pushed against for a long time. And actually, it wasn't until I went to Burlington with Melvin where he was like, "Dude, you need to get on here." And I was like, "Man, do I?" And he's like, "No, you do." And so I started to, you know, use that to broaden my horizons offensively, but also coaching wise. I Coach Sabo and I. Got hooked up with a couple guys out in California. They run a company out there called 5 is 1 Offensive Line Training, and forged this friendship with whenever we go out there for camps, we hang out with them, we grab a bite to eat, whatever. But I think the thing that young coach, maybe, I mean, young coaches probably do this, but older coaches don't know just how much ideas you can get from that. And you have all these guys that put, like, there's I love, one of my favorite things on there, and I'm just starting to do this more and more now, is when guys post those little, like, those little pictures with, like, an alignment for a formation against the defense, and here's the situation, what are you running? I love them. I sit there and I like thinking about, I'm like, damn, what would I do here? Like, what am I
Right.
going to run? And you draw the play up and throw it on there, and I like it just for, you're getting exposure to other coaches. You're seeing what other guys would run in that situation, and you're getting ideas. But I like it more so for the networking that you base on. I might comment or throw a picture on there, of a play that I would run there, and you get some guy from Texas that likes it, and like, yeah, I would do the same thing. And next thing you know, you're both following each other, and you're messaging back and forth about some stuff. And I think networking in the coaching world is just improved leaps and bounds from when I first started 12 years ago to what it is now, and allows you to create connections all over the country and bounce ideas off of other coaches. And I we always talk about, like, clinics and Glazier and all the different clinics you go to, and while they're great, I get more out of sitting down with a defensive coordinator or another OC that runs something similar, and just bouncing ideas off of them for 2, 3, 4 hours. And that's what we tend to do at clinics now, is just find a DC, find a head coach, find an OC. Let's all go sit at this table and let's just draw stuff up for the next 6 hours. And so I do let that part of Twitter is just unbelievable. Just the amount of knowledge that's out there, and different. And I think the different perspectives you get from it. I would have never thought about that. I would have never thought to do that. I would have never thought to run that play there, or to line up in that way. And I think that's made me a better OC in the long run. From when I started. I've been an OC for 5 years now, and it's I can think back to 5 years ago when I was like, "Nah, I'm running this, and this is my stuff, and this is all we're gonna do," and to now it's like, "Oh dang, I like that, yoink, I like that," and
Yep.
you just keep molding it into yours and meshing it into your offense, and it's awesome. It truly is.
Or you get those plays like, I'm gonna put this in my back pocket just in case one year we have the kids to do this. Like, I'm not gonna give too much away at Addison Trail, but one of the things we wanted to do was, or they want to do, was ISO. And so let me rephrase this. I've never really coached ISO, but I have it in my back pocket because I've watched coaches teach it. I've written it down. I've looked at it. So once they told me that, I reached out to coaches. I said, okay, how do you do this? So it's in my back pocket. And so now I'm at a school that wants it. I'm like, okay, here we go. Just, it
Right.
doesn't have to be in your playbook the whole time, because I used to do that. At the school I coached at before, we were talking about where I ran my course, I was handcuffed. Our playbook was probably this thick because I was told to. I was told
Yep.
to. And here's a story. One person said, "Oh, here's this play," and drew it up, had the kids line up, and they're like, "We need to run this." This is a Thursday, mind you, a Thursday before the game. And I said, "Why should we run this play?" "Oh, I saw the Kansas City Chiefs do this. We should do it." And I was like, "There's a reason why they do it."
Right. They have Tyreek Hill, and and Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, I do the same, and we do that with our coaching staff, and we'll just, hey, did you see this play? Yeah, and we'll throw it in the back pocket, like you said, but it's not something we'll act on right then. We'll hold it in the back pocket, we'll keep it until the off season, and then we look in the off season of how can we make this play fit what our what we do, and then what our kids do. Because I think as an OC, I think it's important to have an identity. I think there's a lot of guys out there that don't have an identity. And mine's not fully complete. I know it's not. I spend every year, I can't tell you how many hours, and you being an OC too know this, or previously, you just sit there and you stare at your breakdowns and your your playbook, and you're figuring out, well, how the heck can I, did we do this well? How can we change this? How can we mold this? So it's always fun. My wife, it drives my wife absolutely insane, but there's little Post-it notes and papers all over our house with like little drawings on the corner of the paper that you're like, oh God, I got to write this down really quick. Let me get this on a piece of paper, and then she's cleaning the house and she's going, hey, what is this? And I'm like, don't throw that away. Don't throw that away. I need that. But I need that in the back pocket.
What's that movie where the guy has short-term memory and he has to put? Oh, there's a movie, I can't remember what it's called, and we had to watch it in school. He has short-term memory loss or whatever. So like if he does something, he doesn't remember. So he has to write down Post-it notes and put it everywhere of like what happened.
Oh, I don't even
So that
know.
kind of reminds me of that. Oh, I can't remember what it's called.
Unless it's a Chris Farley movie, I don't know.
Oh, I wish it was Chris Farley. It'd been funny. No, this
Right.
was like a serious movie, and like he had to put Post-it notes everywhere. And if one got moved, because he had it like in a certain line, that's the only thing he could remember was he put in a line. If one was moved, he would point at it and be like, "What did I do?" Because he couldn't remember. Like, what there? And but that's funny. I talked to Coach Kurt Hines on here on the podcast, and I asked him about what they do over there, and he told me their playbook's real thin. He said, so what they do is in the season, if a coach comes up and says, hey, there's this cool play, I saw Mike Leach do it, or I saw whoever do it, if it fits into their offense, this is what he says to them. He goes, oh, cool, yeah, that fits in our offense, but what are you going to take out? Because I don't want this to grow huge. He goes, now in the off season, we can look at it and be like, do we want to add this? He goes, but when they start the season, this is what they have. You can tweak things, but you can't add anything. If you do, you have to take something out so you don't get confusing.
Yeah, and we tend to do the same at Central. When I started as an offensive coordinator 5 years ago, my playbook was about that thick, and I think it's maybe it's not as big now. And so we just got a new quarterback coach this year, Zach Davidson, from Huntley. He was out of Huntley, and he has really worked me down and like really gotten me to really think about our plays, and to the point now where we're down to 4 blocking schemes total, and our pass game is still a little bit bigger than I'd like, but yeah, we do the same thing. We try to every year I pull some things out, or I take a couple things out and put some other things in, and I'm the guy that I like to go into the season with the full playbook. I think a lot of guys do this too, but I go in with the whole playbook, we put it all in, and then we figure out what we do well, and that's what we run the rest of the year. And we keep everything else there in case we need it. But we start to thin that playbook out. And only once, and this actually was the first year this past year, where we had taken out a play and we had, we had put it in, we repped it through like week 2, week 3, and then we just it was one of those plays that wasn't working great for us, and we ripped it out. And week 9 rolled around, and at halftime I sat there and went, God dang it, we should not have. I need this play right now. But it was just one of the, I won't run a play in a game unless I've repped it, at least in the past week or two. I won't do it. And so I wasn't about to, one of our coaches was like, well, let's just run it. We repped it, at the beginning of the season. I'm like, we haven't repped it in 6 weeks. We're not running it now. Like, if it didn't get us this far, we're not messing with it. So it was the first time it bit me in the butt. But yeah, I try to do the same thing. I carry maybe 4. We carry all of our run games into each game, but we carry less than 8 probably pass plays that we want to run, that we think we can attack a defense with every single game. And so I try to keep like that. And I want to keep it as easy as possible, especially for the offensive line. I was an offensive lineman. They got a lot to do. They got a lot to sort out. I'd rather put a bunch of window dressing in the backfield and make it look pretty, and then try to add a bunch of different blocking schemes and whatnot. So
Yeah, I played O-line. I coached O-line a lot, and when I was OC and we had 6 blocking schemes, then 2 pass blocking schemes. Like I said, I was blinded, so I didn't think about it like as a coach. I'm like, that's easy. And then you got to go back as a player and be like, oh my goodness, how many defensive fronts are you going to see? And in high school, how many times is that defensive lineman going to line up wrong? But then it works out because they lined up wrong. But that old lineman had to think, like, wait a minute, like, why are they lined up
right,
here?
I think it's a lot of guys forget about that is a backfield, a quarterback, running back. You can teach them 15 different variations in the backfield for one play, and nothing really changes for them. Maybe a read key changes, maybe an aiming point change, but for the most part, their aiming, your running back's aiming point stays the same. That offensive line, and actually another coach and I were just talking about this a couple weeks ago. That defensive line is going to start here and then shift a gap right before the snap. They might be, like you said, lined up wrong, and I think they're thinking through a lot more than the backfield has to. And while the backfield might be thinking more once the play starts, that offensive line's got to open that play up. So, I think a lot of, I've tried to at least slim it down. And I was an offensive lineman. I thought when I first came out, I'm like, we can run eight blocking schemes. Come on, that's easy. And now I'm like, nah, 4. That's all we need. We had those 8. We never ran 3 of them. We just had them. And so why are we even messing with this anymore? So. Yeah, I'm thankful, for my offensive staff, as we've worked through this year, and we've met more this year than any other year with all this stuff going on, and I think it's allowed us to get a better understanding of what we want to do offensively and what we want to focus on. And I think, with this, hopeful abbreviated season, that allowed us to just sit there and go, okay, we're not going to play a full season. We're probably going to have, we're going to have very little time to prepare if we do, when we do have a season. What do we absolutely need to focus on? And that's the stuff we went in. So our offense got torn in half even more this year, just to make it feasible for what we're trying to accomplish. Once we do play, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully Illinois is a dumpster fire. Because
That's an understatement.
That's an understatement. See, so I'm going to go off on some rabbit holes here, so you have to bear with me. This podcast I started this podcast in February, and it was supposed to be like an ESPN thing. I love recapping sports. I love giving my opinion, but then COVID happened, and there was no sports, so I kind of gave up on it. And I was like, I'm not going to do this anymore. It just kind of sat there. And the title was the Sideline Podcast with Coach Steve because I'm an idiot, and I'm like, I'm just going to do something with football. Sidelines. That's where we're all at. But there's other podcasts. There's other podcasts out there called like the Sidelines or this or that. So you have to add podcast with Coach Steve. It has to be in the title because somebody has it.
Right.
So this was supposed to be all football, and then I started doing it again, talking to coaches, and I realized I cornered myself. It has to all be football all the time.
Right.
Now, I love football. Don't get me wrong, but I've coached basketball. I coach basketball. I've coached track. I like to talk about movies. I like to talk about. I just had a friend on. We talked Marvel for an hour. Like I like movies. So I changed it to the Coach Steve show, so it opens it up. So the only thing I haven't dove into is politics. I'm like, that will get me in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know that you want to go down that worm. I don't know that you want to go down that path.
Yeah, well, that's why it's called the Coach Steve show. It could happen at any time. Now, the only political. We did get political. I do a live show every Sunday with my 2 friends. We do like a sports recap every Sunday live on YouTube. And it kind of got political last Sunday, but it was weird. It was the vaccine for COVID. It was, how upset we are as high school coaches because my friend coaches high school at Esville, right by Danville. And it's still Tuscola. It's probably 30 minutes from Tuscola. We just gave our opinion on like why we need to go back to school and have sports somehow because of the kids. That's the only political we got. Now it was like an hour conversation, but it was like
right.
So I haven't dove fully into politics. So the only politics I dive into is how I fight for sports, but I don't go any bigger than that. And then I say Illinois is a dumpster fire because basketball should have been going on right now, and it's not, which makes me worried for football. It really makes me
Yeah.
worried.
Yeah, I think the whole, I'm not going to get into it too much, but I do think that at some point, we have to think about the mental health of some of these kids, and I don't think, I think as coaches we realize how important it is to these kids because we live it, we breathe it with them every single day. But I think, everyone else kind of on the outside looking in doesn't really realize how important this is to these kids. I think, and I'm speaking, I'm a teacher, academically, you don't realize how important it is to them in the academic world because now, and I was the same way as a high school student. I think a lot of us coaches were the same way, which is why we know it. I was way better academically when I was in football season, in wrestling season, in baseball season, in track. That's when I had my best grades because I was focused. I had a goal. I knew I had to keep my academics up to keep my sports going. And, I don't think a lot of people realize just how much of a while sports is extracurricular and it's not, why we're in school, it is a huge part of education. And all these kids kind of lose their focus and lose their goal and their reason why they're trying to succeed. And while I think there's alternative ways and things they can do to accomplish what they want, they really, that sports piece is huge when it comes to that for them.
Right, because people that don't play sports or multiple sports. So we live in a world of instant gratification. But I think if you played sports, it's not instant gratification, it's reinforcement. So you get good grades, you get told you get good grades, you get this 4.0, this A or this B, you will go to do this or do that. But as kids nowadays, especially because some don't give them A's, they might give them points, like, oh, you have this many points.
Right.
If you get the A on a piece of paper or on the computer screen, like when we were kids, we got the mailed in
Right.
grades to
The
you know what
old
you wouldn't,
mailed in report cards. Got to beat mom home before she gets the mail.
and then they no question, and the school called the school, oh, we'll mail it again, and then you got to look out for it again. Like the kid, it's on the computer screen. So
Right.
I don't. So as athletes right now, for these kids that aren't playing sports, they're seeing this grade on the computer screen, but the reinforcement, which people that was football or basketball or baseball, track or soccer. But wait a minute, like it's about the grades. It is, but guess what? They worked hard for those grades, and then at 2:30 or 3 o'clock, they're out of practice, and that's their
Right.
reinforcement of like, oh, I get to go do this now because I did sports, and we don't have that right now. It was probably the Xbox. Now I play Xbox too. Don't get me wrong, but I don't play it like what they do. And who knew when PlayStation and Xbox took off that these kids would be tired of video games all of a sudden?
You're
Like
right.
they're tired of them now because now they want to go outside. And it's like,
Right.
wait a minute now. Like when we were kids, we rode on the bike. I still have scars on my legs from crashing your bike and this
Oh,
and that.
absolutely.
And like I'm tired of video games. I didn't play the whole time at quarantine, but like there was nights I played Call of Duty or Madden. And then there was 3 months here where I didn't turn it on. I was like, I need to do something else. And
No
these
video
kids,
games in my house.
oh, I have
Not
them.
one.
Uh,
Well,
I grew I grew up with Nintendo and all that, so I have to have it.
yeah, I think another thing too that a lot of people don't realize, and I think there's a negative connotation surrounding high school coaches in general, but I think, football coaches, basketball coaches more so that we're just there for the sport. We're just there to, win games and all. And while that's great, most of us aren't, and like that talking to a bunch of coaches, we want these kids to succeed. We want them to be academically successful. We want them to be good people. And I think people forget just how big of an advocate a coach is in the middle. Where you get done with practice and you have your big meeting at the end of practice, and every coach goes through, and almost every day one coach or two says something about, hey man, let's make sure we're working on our grades, let's make sure we're being a good citizen. And I think, from the outside, I get it. We're win hungry. We look like we're just win hungry, win now, win all the time guys or girls or whatever coaches. And but realistically, most of us are here for the right reasons. We're here to make these kids better people and to make them academics. I want to see this kid go to college. I want to see that, or go into a trade or whatever he decides to do. And I think you're not getting as big of that push every single day from a coach because we're just not seeing our kids, like we used to. We're not at practice with them every day or in the weight room every day with them, and so you don't have that. Hey man, how's your grades? Good, awesome, sweet deal. And you might be able to shoot them a text or a tweet or whatever and check in on them, but it's just not the same. I don't think. I think the kids feel that, and I think I talking to some of our guys, they miss that. Just checking in with you, talking to you, seeing how you're doing, all that kind of stuff. So that whole negative connotation of around surrounding coaches is just that needs to go away. Yes, there are a few of those people that are out there, but I think when you really start to look at it, the vast majority of coaches out there are in it for the right reasons, are trying to help these kids, and so that's what we got to focus on.
Yeah, and I think that a misconception, because those fans see us from 7 o'clock at night till 9:30, and from the 7 o'clock to 9:30, we are very, it's not yelling at them, it's coaching, and they see that fieriness, but that fieriness comes because we're competitive, but it's fiery because those kids worked hard all week, and so we're
Right.
so fiery that you want them to win, I guess win, and it's because they worked hard. That they've watched film, looked at the playbook, went to practice, got their butts chewed out of practice. Then they have to have homework. They have a test. If they've got a significant other, and then they've got mom and dad at home, they got to wash the dishes. So
Yep.
you're so fiery to do that. But what they don't see is study tables. Like, especially when I was at East Aurora, no offense, it was just the situation. They don't see study tables.
Oh yeah.
They don't see, people that do the laundry. You don't see I don't know about you guys. After a Friday night game, win or lose, I'm up till 1 a.m. or 2 a.m. because the whole game has to be replayed. Then you're up watching film with them. Well, why are you spending all this time watching film? I'm like, because you're doing injustice to the kids. I said
Right.
this. You ask that kid to kill themselves all week, pretty much. If you ask them to run through that line every single time, then we have to. If we don't do everything we can, then it cheats them out of what we are telling them to do and showing them to do. So the people thinking that sports don't matter, and I hate seeing that all summer. Like, why would a
Oh.
parent risk the kid's life? And I did a podcast episode by myself, and why sports matter. Now I went above and beyond. I went economic to like why economically sports matter, but I went off on it, and I was like, then I started to realize like the people that are saying this never played sports. They don't get it. It's something you'll never understand.
Right. Well, and I think, and even those people that don't have that, they've got their vice somewhere. They've got that something that motivates them to be successful or did in the past. And I think, don't get me wrong, during those 2.5 hours on a Friday night, I'm a different person.
Yep.
But the minute the whistle blows at the end of the game, you go right back to being, friend, dad, brother, whatever, all that other stuff, and you're back to, not just focusing on the winning, and you're focusing on the kids and all that kind of stuff. So, no, that those 2.5 hours during the game, that's a different Coach Iossi. That's a different person. But I agree. I think you said it great. We get that way because we know how hard our kids worked. We know what they did. We know how much time they put in during the summer, how much time they put in this week, how many hours they watched film this week, and I think that's, I couldn't imagine being a kid now versus when we grew up, because there's just so much more pressure on these kids to do everything. And even as a coach, sometimes I feel guilty asking a kid to watch film because I know that they just spent 2 hours at practice. They already, they spent an hour in the weight room this morning. They spent an hour watching film last night, and they got 3 hours of homework. And I'm like, hey man, watch some more film. And I'm like, oh, I can't. You got to find that balance. It's striking that balance between letting a kid be a kid and letting him be an athlete. I think that's a whole different conversation probably, but I think sometimes we forget that these kids are kids, and that they are just 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, and we ask a lot of them, parents, coaches, teachers. So I always try to remember to just let them be kids tonight. You guys just do your thing.
Well, especially now when like we're remote. We've been remote since the start. So now you're looking at, I sit on Zoom 7 hours a day. Those
Me
kids
too,
are sitting
brother.
on Zoom. Yeah, like that's why sometimes on these, I took a week off of podcasting because this is what I use StreamYard now, but it's exactly the same as Zoom. I get tired of it. So it's like
Yep.
that whole week I didn't do it. And you got to look at it from the kids' perspective. Like, what if they just did Zoom for 7 hours and then you have a team meeting? Then you go, okay, guys, when you're done, look at the offensive line clips. I'm the offensive line run game coordinator at Addison. If I were to say, all right, guys, we just had a Zoom meeting for an hour. When we get off here, you need to go watch the offensive line cut ups I made for another 45 minutes. That's 10 hours of looking at a screen. And they're not going to do it. That's asking too much. Now, doing it once or twice a week, that's okay. But if you do it every day, maybe you let them do it on the weekend where they're not looking at the screen. But like we ask a lot of them, and now it's even worse. And now believe it or not, they're more stressed out not having all the football stuff. I think they're more
Oh, I
stressed out
agree.
learning stuff.
I agree.
It's crazy.
My son is in kindergarten this year, and we've been fully remote. He had 2 weeks in person, and that was it. And I teach middle school, and I'm on Zoom 7 hours a day. He's on Zoom 7 hours a day, and I see it in my own son. I'm like man, just we need to turn. There, on the weekends we don't even turn TV on. It's like no TV, no nothing. Go play with your toys. Go be a kid. And I think I tell my kids, I'm a health teacher, and I tell my kids all the time, if we have 10 minutes where we get done early, whatever, I'm like, get off the computer. Don't look at your phone. Go do something else. And I think right now it's got to be hard to be a kid. I couldn't even imagine trying to navigate all that. But I agree. I think they are more stressed right now. I think it's tough for them, and I want as much opportunity as I can give them as a teacher to go be a kid. I'm like, see ya, go be a kid, go have fun, do something other than this.
Right. Because I'm not calling on any teachers. I feel like when this first started, teachers were pushing it. Like ours, everybody's school district schedule is different. Ours at the middle school I'm at right now in 204, like on Tuesdays we do period 1 through 5,
That's how
and
we
like
are.
that fourth period's like a phantom lunch, like office hours.
Right.
At the beginning, so each class, is probably like you guys an hour and 10 minutes or something. And at the beginning, teachers were like trying to push of like going the whole time because in person, that's what you did. You went the 45 minutes full time.
Right.
And then the longer this went on, you're starting to see, oh, we're 45-minute mark. Guys, go hang out for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, go sit on the couch or go outside
Yeah.
and breathe fresh air. You're seeing that a lot more now. And the teachers don't care about getting in trouble anymore from administration if that were to happen. Like, I'm giving screen break before they come back for more screen. Like they need
Right.
that.
Well, I think that's the teachers just reading their kids. I can see it in my own kids. I made a joke today, just messing around with them because today was the last day meeting with them for the quarter in one of my groups, and I said it's been great talking to your foreheads for 7 weeks. It's been awesome. And they all laughed. And you got to try to find ways, but you read them and you just kind of realize just how much they're sitting there like, ugh. I get, like you're trying to get your curriculum in, trying to get your stuff in, but it's just, it's tough right now. It for sure is tough. So
It's nice seeing your forehead, your ceiling fans, or your name.
they were dying. They all, it was great because they all moved their screen down right away. They're like, haha, Mr. Iossi, funny. And I'm like, well, just being honest, like your ceilings all look great. Chris, you need some paint up there. Like, you got to make it fun. Like I'm a big jokester. I really, probably maybe a little too much, but you got to keep it fun for these kids, especially right now. If they're not enjoying what they're doing, they're not going to put anything into it. So try to make it as fun as I can, whether it's in the classroom or on the field. Let these kids enjoy it. Let them be kids while also
Yeah,
still getting your stuff done. That's important.
we had to do yearbook pictures, so that we had to screenshot the Zoom. And so I was in a class with a science teacher, and he goes, "Guys, here's what we're going to do since this is what we see all the time. Move your cameras to the ceiling, and we're going to screenshot that and send that into the yearbook." Well, then the next day, or 2 days later, he was like, "Guys, I didn't like that. We actually have to do our faces."
That
We
is
were like,
great though, man. I think that would be hilarious. Like if one school just was like, you know what, we're gonna do it. Everyone, like foreheads and up, ceilings, the whole nine. Oh, that's great. That's
I
good
hope they
stuff.
submitted it. I hope they put both. Like his class with the ceiling and then his class with the faces, but that was hilarious. I was like, let's do it. So like we have a ceiling fan out in the living room. I went out there and put it out there, and I was like, because that's what we see. Or I don't know what half the kids look like. That's the other frustrating thing. I don't even know what they look like. I don't know what they sound like. And then you can't build a relationship with them. So
yeah, that's been the hardest part as a teacher.
Yeah.
A lot of us strive for that that relationship you make with the kids and not being able. For the first, I really pride myself on knowing. I'm a middle school teacher, and I teach health primarily, but I also teach PE, and I get all 3 grade levels. And I pride myself on trying to know just about every kid in every grade level, and usually I'm pretty close. There may be a few that I haven't had, but this was the hardest parent-teacher conference year I've ever had. It was like, I'm really sorry. I don't know your kid that well. It's their first year here. I have no idea what their personality is. They've got an A. Awesome. It was such a hard year for parent-teacher conferences, man. Whew.
They have a good-looking name on that black screen. They have a good-looking name on that black screen. That's all I know.
Yeah, right. Is your son the one that said connecting as his name for those kids got smart, man. They were, putting connecting in their names, and it was pretty funny seeing some of the things they were trying to pull. But
Zoom Bomber. We use a thing called Synergy, which is married to Google Classroom, and it's married to Zoom, so it auto creates the link for them. So the kids go through Student View, and then we go through Synergy View or whatever it is. So it's supposed to be safer, right? We're the only ones supposed to be able to get it. Well, guess what? These kids got smart, and we're giving freshmen in high school the link, and we're getting Zoom Bombers and this and that, and that's a good time. When you get a Zoom Bomber, that's a good time. The first time
I didn't have any of that.
Oh, kid coming in saying curse words, and then the names that you'll see in the waiting room. And like, I'm the worst person because if me and a teacher in the class and one of the names is fun, because we can see the waiting room. If it's funny enough, I have to turn off my camera because I'll start laughing. I'm like, that's a good one. Like,
yeah, I didn't. I have not had one single Zoom Bomber or anything like that. I was pretty lucky, I'll admit.
Oh, it's the first time it happened in a room I was in. I had the Zoom minimize so I could look at the kids' Google Classroom work. And then I heard it. So I'm panicking, trying to get the Zoom up. The teacher, I can see like, who's saying that? Unsharing their screen or whatever. We're panicking, like, who's talking? And then I have to share the screen because their name is exactly the name of a student. And then we have to tell these kids, you don't realize that when we're done with the Zoom, we can get the transcript and see what email came in and all that stuff. And it got to the point where a school here in 204, the police got involved because one of the Zoom bombers typed in the chat something about killing somebody, like killing somebody. So the police got involved. It may get charges for this because it's serious. And they're going to make an example out of this kid at one of the high schools to make a point. And ever since that happened, I don't think we've had a Zoom bomber.
Oh, I bet not.
This was about 2 months ago, I think. And I don't think we've seen one since. I mean, for 8th grade, we haven't seen it yet. But I don't know about 7th grade. 6th grade, apparently 6th grade love Zoom. Their cameras are on. They're bouncing all over the place.
Yeah, I don't.
8th grade is a different animal.
Yes, I don't teach 6th grade, but 7th and 8th grade, or 8th grade is a whole different animal for sure. For sure.
I told you we're going to jump down some rabbit holes. It may not be football. We're just going to jump down some.
We did. We jumped out a pretty good one there.
And I always apologize to coaches. I'm like, I'm sorry, we may not have done a lot of. This is the way I look at it. There's a lot of X and O talk out there. We can X and O all day, which I love to do, but whoever has the pen last wins, or like whatever. I like having conversation. This is free therapy, is what I tell people. Losing my mind. This is free therapy.
Like, right. There you go.
Kind of like with Melvin was like my last interview one, but like jumped down some rabbit holes, and I was like, I asked him afterwards. He was like, no, I like having general conversation because there's YouTube videos, X and O all day. There's this or that, or, I know a coach is going to do a power run clinic Zoom thing on Saturday. Like, you can X and O there all day long.
Right.
But to have real conversations different. That's why it's Coach Steve Show. That's why I changed the name. It could just be anything I want.
Yep.
speaking of, I'm going backwards. I was in the rabbit hole, and I'm going to go backwards.
Hey,
We were talking about playbooks and being simple, and you were talking about, we have this many plays, but we run these plays. So why do we have these plays? Coach Mackey on Twitter and YouTube and all that, he told me to read the book, The 80-20 Principle, because that's where he got his Be Simple. So I got it and I read it. Now it's about business and it goes into life. It's true. It talks about like the 80% of your success comes from only 20% of what you do. And it just kind of opens your mind up of how to be simple. And so it's funny. I just read that book and then you said that. So it's kind of funny how you brought that up. Like, why, my situation, we had 6 run blocking schemes. Then I had 20 passing plays. Like, that's ridiculous. On top of 50 formations.
right.
And how many of those did I call every night? Not all of them.
Well, yeah, and you look at most OCs, we all get into like a game and we might call 8 plays, 9 plays, 10 maybe in a game, but the rest, you're calling eight plays, but you're putting a bunch of window dressing on it. You're making it look different, and so yeah, I've never read the book, so it's kind of funny that you said, but I would be interested in it, but yeah, I think as an OC, the simpler we can make it, but make it simple for the kids, but make it look different for the defenses. That's my goal. I'm a big motion guy. I used to be like a huge number of like I used to be like the 40 formation guy, with 5 plays and a bunch of, but I've knocked even my formations down to 6-ish. But I've added the motion. I've built the motion game out. Trying to just window dress the entire thing, because and I think power. When you start to look at like your playbook, I think power is like the one play that you can just do endless amounts of things with. And I think it's the most versatile play out there. I know a lot of guys, zone, you can split zone, you got this, but I was a zone guy. Zone's not even in my offense anymore. I took it out, and I just I took power and I started looking. I'm like, man, we can run power, but run 5 different plays in the backfield, but keep the same blocking scheme up front. And so you start to look at like, what are your most versatile plays? And then that's how I started, like, here's my most versatile plays. Let's build our offense around those and then see what we're missing. So
yeah, I love zone. And the reason why is because when I was OC, I was handcuffed, but I had terms. It was like a contract. I was like, zone's got to be one of them. But we were teaching it, the regulars. That's how stupid I am. So you being experienced, correct me if I'm wrong. When people think inside zone, like right, they think everyone step to the right and go up the field. It has to be the zone thing. And that's the way I always knew it. So when I was OC, that's what I taught. Well, we didn't have, I think if you have athletic linemen, you can do that. When you don't have athletic linemen, you run power or something because you're double teaming. You're down, down, down kick or whatever. And when I got to Glenbard East, they really opened my eyes up with their inside zone. And I got in trouble for this. I'll tell you the story how I got in trouble on Twitter. So their inside zone was double teams all over the place. Like we don't block the end, but we're double teaming because Coach Walters there wanted double teams. We were happy with a 5-yard, 4-yard run on inside zone. A lot of people aren't happy for that. We were. If we got 4 yards, we were okay. Like now it's 2nd and 6. Like we're fine. And I loved that because you're getting double teams all over the place. And then we found out you're stealing reps because on power, it's almost the same blocking. You just pull somebody around. So you're stealing reps. And to our linemen, they don't realize that. And to our linemen, the rules we came up with were very similar. So they didn't have to think. And I tell people, guess what? We had the kids, but guess what? We went 9-0 that year. Now, it wasn't because of us, it's because of the kids, but guess what? We made it so simple, they didn't have to think. Now, was it perfect every single time? No. But that was our inside zone. And so we made it more simple. And I got in trouble on Twitter. I drew it up because people say it looks like duo, and it does. It looks like duo. We're just not blocking the end. So I put it on Twitter. I was like, what do you guys call this? For me, it'd be inside zone, just because of how I saw it and how much I like it. I
Oh,
should
you
never
made
done.
the zone community mad, didn't you?
So we were talking about Twitter. It's a great thing. Like I promote the podcast on social media. It's great for that type of stuff. It's great.
Yep.
Like I never would have talked to you probably if we didn't have social media. Like reach out. I'd have to email people and this and that. That was my most probably commented post, which was good for advertising, I guess. But I don't want. Someone said I drew up the running back's path wrong, and so because of that, it was this. And I said, "Are you?" I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "No, no, no, that is duo." And then someone said, "No, that's it." Someone told me it wasn't even zone or duo; it was like something else. And then, and then I had to comment. I was like, "Guys, I just wanted to know what you would call this, or like what you're doing. I'd rather learn than you say I was wrong. I'm not wrong because we call this zone,
Yeah,
but I
I
should
think
never."
you got some like hard press zone guys that are traditional to a T. Now I was that when I came out of college because we were North Central's historically been that straight zone team. And we were taught, and our offensive line coach Rick Ponks, who's down at Plano, he's head coach of Plano High School now. And we were taught, we would get on the hip of the guy. If it was right, I played center, so I'd get on the hip of my right guard, and we'd kind of climb. We called it angles, but I think a lot of guys. I don't whether you're right or wrong. I don't think it matters. I think it matters if it's right or wrong for you because every guy takes their translation of the play and adds it to their scheme and what they want to accomplish. And so when I started calling plays, I was that, or even when I started coaching offensive line, I taught it in that same manner, climbing, you got this, we call them train tracks, this is your train track, get on the tracks, anything that's there, you're taking. And that was fine for me in college, but when you started to put it to a high school kid, and we didn't, obviously in college you're watching hours of film yourself, as a player. These high school kids are, if you can get a high school kid to watch 30 minutes of film a week, you're doing good. And I don't think that they just were able to in their minds kind of translate that on the field. And we had a lot of problem. We struggled hard with getting our kids to pick that kind of a scheme up. It's your play sided gap. You're taking your tracks, you pick it, and we struggle with sorting all that out. And so I went to the double teams. I wanted as many double teams in it as I could. Combos, whatever. And it was 2 for 2. That's what I always like if it was if it was an odd front, the front side tackle and guard were 2 for 2 on the end of the linebacker, center and backside guard were on the end, and then backside tackle was climbing to the linebacker. And if it was an even front, it was opposite, whatever. The play side tackle would be soloed. And so we did at least 2 double teams. And we still fundamentally struggled with the concept of zone. And I have always thought that high school kids think of zone as a passive play.
Mm-hmm.
And, you get a lot of kids that play it passively because I almost think they feel like it's a pass, a pass, like a pass, like a pass block. And so we tried 3 years ago, we renamed the whole thing. We, my offensive line coach and I, Coach Sabo, we were sitting there and we're like, we are supposed to be a zone team. We are not having the success with zone as we would like. We were averaging, 3 yards of play, which isn't horrible, but it's not good. And all of our man schemes were averaging 5-6 yards a pop. And so we started to look at like, why aren't we being successful with this? Why is this play not working? And it came down, like it was the mindset of our kids was zone. Oh, you know what? It's zone. It's like pass play. And we renamed it. We started calling it dive. Like the next year we installed it, we're like, guys, brand new play, whole new thing. It's the cutting edge. It was, we built it up and we're like, it's dive, baby. We're bringing back dive. We ran the same play. And so, it actually, and I hate to admit it because I was a zone guy forever. That's what I wanted to be, inside outside zone. And the more I've called plays, just the more success I've had with with man's, power, GT counter trap, that kind of stuff. We've taken it out. It's not even part of my offense anymore. Just because, I think it got too hard. Not that I don't think high school kids can't figure it out, but I just think that they do, and maybe it was just the way we were coaching it. I don't know. But we have always just done better with those man schemes. And Coach Sabo and I have been together for 5 years now, and we've stuck together through 2 schools. And I think just the way that we've ran it was like, you know what, and we just talked about, like, you know what, maybe this is something we pull out. Maybe it's something we look at. Now we haven't officially done it, but it's one of those ones that's just sitting in the back pocket still, like we talked about. And we're going to see see what happens with it. See if it's something we want to do. But yeah, you don't want to make the zone community. It's like I always think it's funny on Twitter. You've got the air raid spread guys on one side, and you got the wing tee guys on one side, and then there's the guys in the middle that are like, which one do we go with? So
I got thrown into the air raid one. I got thrown in because I do a podcast. His name's Coach Sheffer. He does a podcast and he does the program profiles of college. I helped him start his podcast, and we were hot for a while. Me and Coach Banstra, he's on Twitter, and then Coach Bennett. We did them like once or twice a week. And I got thrown into that air raid group because I was a spread guy, because they're wing tee guys. They love that stuff, and I'm a spread guy, and I love Mike Leach's air raid stuff because I think it's simple. So automatically they threw me into that air raid group. So when there's a war on Twitter, one of them will tag me and be like, "What are you gonna say?" And I'm like, "Nothing. I'm staying out of this.
I don't want." Yeah, I tend to be that guy in the middle. Even though I'm a spread guy, I really do like when you start to look at, like the wing tee concepts. There's a lot that spread guys can pull out. Like that's what you got the birth of the pistol wing tee, and you're starting to see a lot. And I took a lot of my stuff, not a lot of my stuff, but I took a couple plays from the wing tee, and I think they're great for molding into some stuff you do out of spread. And I was talking about power earlier, and I talk about this in every time I talk about power, but we took veer backfield footwork, everything out of gun and pistol, and put it with power blocking, and made it, because we were always we were hunting for a same side read play. We always, all of our backfield action was always cross the quarterback. And it was relatively simple for teams to figure out what we were going to do unless we were motioning or jetting or whatever. And so we started to look at the veer concept, because we ran veer, but it was a weird version of veer. And we were like, well, we got power, we like veer, let's put them together. And we were kind of doing this during the summer, actually, and we were kind of walking through it with our team. We had our team out there, and we're like, let's do this real quick. Let's just walk through some stuff. It was early. It was like June. And our starting left tackle, our starting right tackle, who's a 2-year starter for us, he goes, "Oh my God, this is Veer's hot sister." Because we had taken veer and we had put it with power. And it was like, and that's what we call it now. We're like, it's Veer's hot sister. Let's go. It's it's power up front, veer backfield, and it was the funniest thing ever. I was damn near on the ground rolling around laughing. But I think that's another thing that just kind of, you could take stuff from it. I think it's funny when air raid guys and spread guys are like going at it with the wing tee guys. I'm like, you guys, there's so much to learn between the two of you. Like, you don't need to hate each other. Like, you can take concepts and put them together and make them awesome, and it's okay. No one needs to die here, so just chill out. So,
well, that's what I told somebody. I said, I actually kind of am liking the wing tee RPO stuff. It looks really good because a guy, they're finding a way to mesh it together. And I said, why can't we have a air raid guy go, "Oh my God, I'm going to run the ball more this year," and go talk to a wing tee guy and be like, "How do you guys do this? Why can't you just do it that way?" But then it's like you're going to lose your card. Like, your air raid card's going to get destroyed.
It's like the man card. It's the old school man card. Give me your air raid card right now. Give me your wing tee. You've lost that. I think go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just say I like you were saying. There's Cary Grove is a powerhouse in our conference, and and I think it was last year, they threw the ball more than they've ever thrown it, and they just had silly success, like just stupid success with it. And I was like, see all you other wing T teams out there? Why don't you do that? Like you could just be like, think about that. If a wing T team started throwing the ball, let's just say it's 30% of the time, how lethal that would be, all off play action. I mean, that's horrifying, horrifying.
Right. Because I've talked to coaches who are wing T, and one of my questions was, what happens in a high school, especially in Illinois, where you get a kid that comes in that can just sling it, and then you've got some speed? Do you stick to what you do, or do you pass it more? And their answer was, well, we might do a little more play action. We might roll out. I'm like, no, you need to drop that guy back. You could be under center. You better drop him back and run stick and corner or whatever and get it going. But when I say that, then they kind of go, yeah, but and I'm like, okay. Then you got, but those are the old school thinking. Then you got some that go, well, yeah, we might go like, two receivers here, but keep a wing so we can still do our motion and maybe we do this. I'm like, there you go. See, now you're starting to think. And you don't have to keep it your whole life. Just for that one
Right.
season or two seasons, you have that kid. You put this in. You stick to what you want to do. I had a coach on here, Coach Vaughn. His offense is called the Wing Raid, and I said, "You have my attention." Wing Raid. I
I
like the
like this.
sound of
Yes, I like this.
it. He said they line up like literally 3 yards off the ball. They're in pistol, but it's a really close pistol. It's really close. He said they practice all their wing T concepts because that's what they want to do. He goes, "We want to run the ball. That's what we're going to do." But I will still line up in trips. I'll line up in this. I'll line up in this. And we are going to run some air raid concepts to be prepared. And he calls it wing raid because they start the wing T first. That's how they start it. And then they might have a little bit of mesh, stick, and corner and stuff like that, but they don't go crazy. But they have it. And I was like, you have my attention. Like, that sounds better. And he goes, I had to call it wing raid because it can't be wing T. It can't be air raid. I have to be somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, I'd say Wing Raid definitely has a nice little ring to it that would definitely perk up the ears of many. I know I'm like, what's
Mm-hmm.
this? I want to know this. Yeah, I think Rick Stewart. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
you've ever had a chance to see him speak. I saw him speak at a Glacier a couple years ago, and he runs like the pistol wing T stuff, and I was just glued to it. And I was like, oh my god, this is like I can't take
Yeah.
my eye. I went to every session. I think he did 4 or 5 sessions that year. I went to every single one. I've never done that before because I was just enamored by the whole. I was like, this is like all of the things that I like but it's in gun and I've never been a wing T guy, but it's just I don't know. There's just so many good concepts of it. And I think it's funny like you talked about like wing T guys and like throwing the ball more. The same thing happens with spread guys. I think you've got to tailor what you're doing to what you have. My first year as offensive coordinator, I threw the ball 45, 50 times a game because that's what I had.
Mm-hmm.
I had a 6'5" quarterback. I had 2 really good receivers. And my offensive line was solid, but we were a smaller offensive line. It was like, nah, and that was when I was at Hampshire. Like we just chucked the ball over the place. And I got labeled as like a passing guy. They're like, oh, he just wants to pass the ball. And I'm like, no, I'm an offensive lineman by heart, man. Like I want to run the ball. And I went to Burlington and last year we had just an unbelievably good offensive line, and we have a stud running back, sophomore running back last year for us, and we ran the ball, 80% of the time. Like it was, and like, oh, he likes to run the ball. Yes, I would love to be balanced, people. Like that would be the ultimate goal. Like, but I'm going to take what I can get, and I'm going to run with it, and I'm going to tailor my offense to what we do best. So,
Um, Coach Patrick Taylor, who's on Twitter, he has some air raid stuff out there. Like, he's air raid. He and Coach Piscopo, who's on Twitter, they went out to Washington State when Mike Leach was there for the spring ball and stayed there for a couple of days. Like, he's true air raid. He was on Coach Mackey's show, I think 2 years ago or something, and he was the OC at the time. He goes, "Yeah, we're air raid, but guess what? My running back had almost 2,000 yards rushing this year." And Coach Mackey was like, What? You can run the ball in the air raid?" He goes, "Absolutely, because they think we're going to pass it. I had a good running back. Why not?" And so they would run the ball because they were thinking he's going to pass it the whole time. So he put that to rest real quick. He's like, "Air raid guys, we can run the ball still." And then now you're starting to see hand down tight ends with it and starting to run it. I'm like, okay, now I'm starting to like it. That's what we're gonna try to do at Addison is the hand down tight ends and all that stuff.
Yeah, I'm the same way. Like I've gotta have that option. I don't know that I could ever get behind like true air raid, throw the ball 60 times a game. But I guess it depends on what you got. Like if that's the personnel you've got, then if I had just five absolute stud receivers and a stud quarterback, you might talk me into a little air raid. But yeah, got to have the balance. I think that especially in the high school level, I want ultimately I want to win games too, but I want to develop the kids in multiple facets. They with our training company, I've got a kid who plays left tackle for Fenwick, and they are true air raid. They're 5 wide the entire game, but we train him just as if he was, any other offense because I want him to be well rounded. I want him to be a well rounded athlete. So
Right.
you teach their own. But I don't think we have to kill each other. Like that whole thing's got to end. The whole let's collaborate, wing T and spread guys.
Well, the worst was when Mike Leach lost 2 games in a row after beating LSU or something. That was the worst because all I saw was, "Where are you area guys at now?" Because Mike Leach.
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like, wait, what? And then a part of me when Army, because then it brings the bad out in me because then a part of me wants to be like when Army loses or Navy loses because I like watching them. Part of me wants to be like, where are you gonna be fans out now? Where's the wing T at now? But I keep my mouth shut. I'm like, that's gonna start something that I can't finish, or nor do I want to. So I don't
I
want to
try
mess.
to stay out of that as much as possible.
No, I do too. But then like you see it and you're like, guys, I just came on here to look at positive stuff or look at scores or look at this, and I have to see this. Like you're gonna. It's like I always think I'm out, but you pull me back in. Like you're gonna make me say something that I'm gonna regret. It's like politics. It's something that I don't get. And then, um, when Air Force beat with Washington State in that bowl game or whatever,
Yeah.
those wing T dinosaurs came out of the woodwork and talked about how it didn't work anymore. And I'm
Mhm.
like, oh goodness, because Rochester and Coach Leonard in Rochester.
Oh yeah.
He doesn't run the wing T, and they won 8 of the last 10 state titles.
Oh, but he does some funky stuff though. Did you?
Oh,
I watched his. They had the virtual IHSF. I always can't IHF whatever it is. Illinois High School Football Coaches Association. It's like such a tongue twister. And I watched Derek Leonard's presentation, and they got. I mean, and he's like prefaces. He's like, yeah, I don't. This isn't something we do all the time. We do it for fun and all this kind of, but man, he's like running polecat and like tackle guard, like just everywhere. I'm like, man, like I can't even wrap my head around this right now.
yeah, I knew some coaches that knew him, so I've talked to him a few times. When I was OC, I actually tried to get what they do, like, in practice and bring it over because they have I was just trying to they're up tempo a little bit sometimes, so I try to bring all that, and, um, the way I describe Coach Leonard for people, he was running Lincoln Riley stuff before Lincoln Riley, if anybody knows him.
Oh, you know what? He talked about this quads formation he runs with his. I don't know what he labeled it. His Z. I would probably label it my Z or something, but his Z like 15-yard, like Canadian football, 15 or arena football, 15 yards, and they throw a little now screen on the snap of the football. He just dead sprint to the line and is
Yep.
catching the ball on a line, and I just sit there and I'm like, God damn, like why
Yeah,
can't I think of this stuff? Like that's mad scientist stuff.
he is. And I got some of their plays before for it's not now, but like a few years ago, how they go fast and how they do this and how simple they are. He bases everything off of that GT counter. He loves it.
Oh,
But then you see what he
GT.
messes with, and there was one year he had these 2 brothers. They were like my height, like 6'4", 6'5" wide receivers. He really got funky. People want to watch that. Go watch IHSA YouTube. He got some funky stuff going on, and University of Illinois. People are calling for him to go to the University of Illinois.
Oh, I've
And
seen it all over Twitter this week.
oh, well,
All
they
over.
said they said have him just be the OC years ago, but I don't think he'd ever leave.
Yeah.
Well, then the rumor is he got offered like a quarterback coach job there or something before, but he wasn't going to leave for that. He's got a good thing going. I think because his dad coaches at Sacred Heart Griffin.
Yep.
I think that's where he'll go when his dad retires. Is my
Yeah.
opinion.
Rochester's going to burn. They're going to go insane. No,
Well,
yeah, Derek's got some good stuff, and I'm the same way really with that GT counter. My offensive line coach calls it God's play. that GT counter is just, whoo! We have killed it on GT counter. That's our number one play in our offense too, and we get. I think the last 3 years we've averaged 7+ on that. I'm the guy running GT counter on 3rd and 8. That's me.
you are an O-line coach or an
Oh,
O-line guy.
well, that's the it's been 2 offensive line guys calling the plays. It's the first year I've had a quarterback coach in my 10 years in OC, and he would always I'd be like, all right, 3rd and 8, what are we thinking here? And he'd be like, GT, and I'm like, come on, Kev, like you gotta do me something better here. And I tell you what, man, we had I would say some unrealistic success with it. It just you never things. 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9, we'd run it and get it, and it just blew my mind.
I haven't coached it in years. I haven't coached that GT counter in a couple years. It's weird. People have success with it. We didn't, and I don't know if it's because of me, but we didn't. I have no idea.
Yeah, you got to teach the skip pull with your tackle, or not. Yeah, you got to. It's got to be quick hitting. As fast as you can get going. You got to have athletic tackles to do it. I'll say that. You can't have a big. Not that you couldn't run with a big slow guy, but you got to have guys that can move well enough to get around the corner fast enough. But and a quarterback that'll read it right, because we read it. We read that backside end. That's if you don't read it right, throw it out. But luckily, I've been very fortunate to have good reads out of my quarterbacks on it.
Yeah, Glenbard East, we were just inside zone, trap, and power. And then, you're sitting at 5-0, and we started to go, well, why don't we try GT counter? Try to put it in, and, it kind of worked, kind of didn't. And then that's where kind of like, why are we adding things when we're 6-0 now or whatever? Like, we should just not touch anything, just keep it the way it is. And one of our favorite plays was the, I don't know, inside zone bash or whatever, where we call it Laredo, but like left tackle through the right guarder blocking inside zone left, the right tackle is arc releasing, the quarterback's reading that end. If he goes with the right tackle, he keeps and runs behind the zone. If he crashes, he just hands it off. I posted that on Twitter. So after my Twitter thing with that one, I posted this one. I was like, all right, now I'm going to do it on purpose and stir the pot. So I posted that. So somebody said, well, what happens when this happens? So then I posted another one. I said, well, if the backer is reading and blitzing, switch the running back over, motion your next guy, and now that's the guy that might get the ball because that linebacker's going to look at the motion. If not, he's going to run behind all these blockers. I said, there you go. Well, then all of a sudden they come out of the woodwork. What if my Mike linebacker scrape exchanges and tackles and this and that? I said, then you got a badass linebacker, and I should call another play. I don't know what to tell you. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Yeah, I do the same. Sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I don't. If he does that, then you win. I just don't know many high school quarterbacks that are going to do that, or linebackers, excuse me. So
yeah, and somebody's going to listen to this and DM me like I said that. I don't remember who said it. There was a couple of coaches that did it on purpose to push my buttons, which was fine because I know who they were. This guy was like, well, I teach my linebackers to scrape exchange. They would do that. And I'm like, I think every linebackers coach teaches their kids to do this. It's not groundbreaking. And if I wanted to get pissed off, I would say, you know what? If he scrape exchanges, this and that, I'm going to run a screen then off of it. I'll run a screen off of it. I'm going to run a snag right behind you because your guy's going to come forward. Like, there's a way to beat you. Then I started to realize I'm getting into that pen game, that chalk game, and I was like, "Don't be."
Oh yeah, that's when you get down the rabbit hole and you're like, well, then I do this and I can do that. Well, that's we did that on our own staff. We were talking about we've been talking a lot about what Coastal Carolina is doing with their offense because I'm just a huge fan of what they've been doing. And I sent him a play that I saw on Twitter, and our Melvin said something about. Well, yeah, it was an ISO play, and he goes, I don't know many linebackers that or coaches that teach this, whatever technique to take on the ISO. And our TC comes back and he's like, "We teach this, Melvin." And it was like, oh, but I've never seen him do it. And our linebackers do this all the time. So you get that going just in your own coaching staff sometimes, and see how you get that your own little rabbit hole.
Or like, we teach this. Oh, you teach it when? Starting now, because you're gonna put this play in. I'm gonna start teaching it now. Now that you brought it up. Oh, that's funny. All right, I've taken a lot of your time. I'm gonna end it with this. So you talk about your company with Fist Football. For anybody out there that listens doesn't know what that is, I'm gonna try to describe it, and then you can tell me to shut up. I'm explaining it wrong. So it's just basically you're coaching and teaching offensive linemen and defensive linemen different techniques, different skills, different like flexibility things, and trying to prepare them outside of their high school stuff for their high school actually, but then actually for maybe beyond high school.
Correct. Yeah. So Kevin Sabo and I, he's my offensive line coach at Burlington. Him and I go back playing together since we were in middle school. Played in high school together, played in college together, and when we got out of college, then we had talked about, we coached together, my little brother's team, and we got out of college. We just kind of were like, there's nothing, like 7-on-7s were starting to get big, like, a lot of these different training companies were starting to get big in the suburbs, and we're like, man, there's nothing for offensive and defensive linemen. There's nothing in the Chicagoland area, and so we started Fist right out of college, and so we got the name Fist. Rick Ponks, who's our offensive line coach in college, always talked to us about, as 5 fingers by yourselves, they're not very strong. You could break any one of them anytime, but you make them a fist, you make them one, then it's, you can do whatever you want with it. But you break anything, whatever. And so that was kind of our mantra. We had it on all of our shirts in college. We broke on Fist, and so that when we were trying to think of a name, we were like Fist. And we have our own analogy for it now, but that's what we based it off of. And so we just started training, and we trained very few kids in the first couple of years. We'd pick up a kid here or there. We'd get a lot of it was long snappers. Both of us were long snappers in college. And over the last really 3 or 4 years, but really the last 2 years, it's really just started to get bigger and bigger. And we've always been training kids, but that number just kind of grown. And we think a lot of that goes to Greg Holcomb, who runs Next Level Athletics, quarterback trainer. And he kind of got with us and was like, hey, running these training sessions on Sundays at IC Catholic, would you guys want to come do your O-line training? And we were like, yeah, sure, why not? And so we started to train together, but we would do some like not live, but like we would do some of our one-on-ones with a live quarterback. So while they were doing their quarterback reads and running their one-on-ones, whatever, we would do our offensive line one to give them a live look. And so Greg kind of gave us our first real start, and then we started doing Rise and Fire, which is his big camp series. He does one in Chicago every summer, and then he does one in LA, usually in January. And then he actually just had one in Dallas last weekend. And so that kind of started to propel us even bigger. And I think that started about 5 years ago, maybe 6, when we started, maybe a little bit longer. We started working with Greg Moore. And, to the point, 9-10 months ago, well, actually about a year ago, we hired Ben Solomon, who was at the time the Huntley defensive line coach, and in my opinion is just one of the best defensive line coaches in the country. The dude is just unbelievable at what he does. And he's actually at Central now with us in Burlington. So the 3 of us are on staff together in high school, but we also run Fist. And I don't want, I hate, we always talk about it, like we hate saying that COVID really blew this thing up, but it had, a lot of these kids are looking for training, or they're just looking to stay up with their skills. And so we, have been able to provide that for them. We did our first showcase, a couple months ago. We had 160 kids come for that, and we broke it up. We had groups, and we were small distance and masks and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, we really, I think we train a little bit different than a lot of guys do. We really started to look, we base a lot of what we do off of science. I have a master's degree in exercise science. And so we base a lot of what we do off of that, trying to create, biomechanical movement patterns that mimic what you do in a football game, but we train that with our athletes, and we spend a lot of time on hip and ankle mobility and flexibility and core. And so we've just we've got a ton of good kids, and we give all the credit to the kids, man. They just they're the ones that are hungry. They wanna they want that opportunity to train. And I think the coolest part for us has been during all of this lockdown and not being able to play, we've kind of created our own little fist football family. Our kids, yeah, it's awesome. Like, if you ever see our kids, they're tagging each other on Twitter. They're hanging. Like, they started, like, they've got their own Twitter groups now that they all started, and they're setting up, game. They're like, hey man, let's go play some. Let's jump on Xbox. And they're playing games and they're doing all this other stuff. It's really cool. So it's been kind of our replacement of not being able to coach high school this year, and still giving us that interaction with some of these kids. So. Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. It was really hard there for a long time. Not we didn't we didn't start this thing to make money. That wasn't our intention ever. And it's just it took a long time to get to this point. A lot of work, and we've got a good couple of dudes, Coach Sabo, myself, and Coach Solomon, and yeah, it's been a roller coaster, but it's been fun for sure.
Yeah, because you answered one of my questions of, like, I would think it sounds bad because COVID has hurt a lot of people, but something like that, it helps a little bit. And the only reason why I say that, and you kind of said it, there's nothing else to. No offense, there was nothing to
Right.
do, so they don't want you to do football in a government sense. So it's like, well, let's go do this instead. So it
Right.
helps the kids.
And we really didn't even see it coming. We shut down when everything was shut down in March and April, and whenever it opened back up, and when we started to open back up in May, June, we just had a ridiculous amount of kids that were messaging us wanting to get work in, and they just we started with 2 or 3. Next weekend we'd have 5 or 6. The next thing we knew, on a Sunday, we'd have 50 kids that were coming out to get work in. So it was we were getting to a point where it was like, man, we're gonna need to hire some more coaches. But yeah, I hate saying it, and we hate saying it, but these kids were just looking for something to do, to grasp, to be a part of, and Fist was that. And so we're happy to give them that opportunity, and we're we're incredibly grateful for everything that they do. We wouldn't be able to do what we do without them. So
And I think due to COVID, you're going to see more things like what you guys do. Like, one of my friends said, if we can't coach this year, he's big in he coaches football and basketball, but he loves track. He's getting into the whatever the new rage is. I can't think of it. The PR stuff.
yeah,
And he was like, I'm certified. If we don't have sports, I'm going to start holding my own workout stuff to replace the coaching.
right.
And I was right before talking to you. I even told him, I was like, I'm getting a guy from Fist Football, and that's what they're doing. And it's a way to help kids. So I think you're going to see coaches like us start to do that, like, not come on your turf, but like they're going to do track stuff. They're going to do this.
Right.
It might turn into basketball stuff, like, because if we can't coach, we got to find a way for our mental self, but for the kids as well.
Yeah, I think that's been a lot. The best part is just we do most of our training on Sundays, and just having that opportunity to go hang out with with a bunch of high school kids that you'd normally be hanging out with when you're coaching, getting that opportunity to do it on a Sunday is just, it's been as beneficial for me and Sabo and Solomon as it has been for them. And we're lucky. We're very fortunate that we started this thing 10 years ago, not knowing that this would start to blow up. And that, like, we the last 2 or 3 years we've really grown a lot, and so it wasn't all COVID, but I think more so than we thought has happened since then. So
It just accelerated it.
right,
Like,
right. That's a good way to say it.
um, a good way to say it is like COVID just allowed us to help the kids faster, maybe, or COVID didn't make this big. It was just because we could help the kids quicker. We could get there. Uh, I don't know. You got to find a pot. Like I said, I started to read books again all of a sudden. So I read that 80/20. Then there was one, The Energy Bus. It's a simple read. Talks about finding positives and everything. So that's a small positive. Like you just find it somewhere. And so the last thing I'll say, because I took a lot of your time, uh, when I was a young coach, we hated hearing private session workouts, and it was always quarterback coaches. Now, I was a young coach. We're all young. We don't know any better. We just get told from the older folk, like they're not teaching what we're doing at high school. Now, I'm going to ask this because I'm going to play devil's advocate. I love what you guys do. Like, love it, support it. So this isn't coming from me. This is just my job as a podcaster. I'm going to think of it differently. Have you guys ever gotten pushback of like from coaches? Like, why are you going there? I'm your coach. They're not going to teach you what I'm teaching you. Because that's what I heard as a young coach was like, don't go to them. I'm teaching you something. And then as I got older, I realized I don't know everything. This is just another way for them to get better. They're with us, then they're with Fist Football. They're going to get better. So I support this. But have you ever gotten pushback from coaches like that negativity that we all see now?
Right. So so that was when Kevin and I started the company out of college, and really within the first couple years that we were coaching, that was the biggest thing that we didn't want to have happen. Because I'm an offensive coordinator. I've been an OC for 5 years. I've been coaching for 12 years at the high school level, and I've been a head wrestling coach, and I've done I have heard so many times, well, my trainer does it this way. Well, my receiver coach does it. And so we flat out said when we started this, we're not going to be that. We refused to be that. So we haven't gotten any pushback because we work with the coaches that most of these kids come from. We oftentimes are talking to the coaches. Hey, man, like we know that you run a different technique than what we would teach. How do you want it taught? Because we'll teach that. And we talk to our kids all the time too, because our kids will come back and they'll be like, well, that's not how my D-line coach does it. And you'll hear us say, every session we have, you will hear us say, listen, we're going to give you another tool for your tool belt, but if your coach wants it done this way, then you run it the way your coach wants it. If we're teaching, we might teach a different way to pull or to skip pull or to trap. We might give you another piece, but that's just for your tool belt. If your coach wants it this way, you do what your coach does. And a lot of times our coach, our kids would come back and say, hey, coach, we worked this week. I know that's different than what you did. And okay, let's work it that way then, because that's what your coach wants on the field. And I think that's what sets us apart. I think ultimately is that piece. There's never a time in any of our sessions where you will hear one of our coaches say, that's wrong. Don't do it that way. You'll do it this way. Because ultimately we're not making decisions on whether or not that kid's going to play. I want to give him the tools, the movement patterns, the biomechanics to be able to do whatever that coach wants. So while stance is like the biggest one that we come across. Like there's a lot of ideals of how a stance should be done, and this stance or that stance, and we'll teach the stance that we've based things that we do off of because they're based off of science and leverage and angles, all that kind of stuff. But again, like I know we know that we train a couple of kids from Downers Grove North. I know that Downers Grove North's coach likes a square stance, square foot stance rather than a staggered. So that's what I train with those kids. That's what I work with on those kids. I might show them the staggered foot stance and work with them a little bit because I want him to have that tool. I want him to be, if he goes to college, he's got that. It's not brand new to him. So I think that's, we haven't had any pushback, and I think it's because we are out there. We're not just a training company. We also coach high school football. We have a lot of connections within the Illinois high school coaches, and we talk to them at clinics, and we get what what they want. And so I think that was such a big part. I'm glad you asked the question, because that's one of the biggest questions we get a lot. And that's just something we're not going to do. If you want it done that way, I'm gonna train it that way, whether I think it's right or wrong, because that's what you want. So
And that kind of helps you out too, because then what if you guys as a coaching staff one day say, let's do it this way? If that makes sense. Like,
right,
maybe,
yeah, no, we take stuff from other coaches all the time too. Like, oh, your coach, I like that. I'm
right?
gonna put that in my tool belt. So
No, because I remember getting into coaching, and that's when the 7-on-7s were becoming a thing. And no offense to quarterback trainers, but that was the big one was, oh, my quarterback coach is training me to do this or this. And now you as a coaching staff, your ego's kind of hurt a little bit. Like, well, why are you going to him when we're your coach? And the reason why it hurts you is because, like, oh, well, my trainer says this, so this is what I'm going to do. And that's the worst part. And I've been around
yeah,
some of those kids.
I haven't seen it as much out of like position coach trainers. I've seen it more out of like just general train. I've seen it more in the weight room stuff, than anything. I'm a certified personal trainer. I have a master's in exercise science, and so like I've gotten more pushback in weight room stuff than I ever have on the field, which like, oh well, my coach tells me to squat like this, and I'm like that's great. I get that. I'm also just as certified, if not more certified than your coach. That's it's all it's give and take, and I appreciate it when coaches come to me, like if I'm training a kid and maybe we're working something, let me know. Just shoot me a text, give me a call. Hey man, this is how we run it. Cool. I'll train it like that. No big deal. I'll give him the tools, but let's work the stuff that he needs every day in practice. So
Yeah, I wanted to ask that question. So just in case any listener I had thought of that, like if they are one of those
no, I
coaches that
appreciate it.
are bad, like,
Yeah, then that's we're never afraid to answer that question, because that's been our mindset since day one. We never wanted to be that company. I never wanted to, we never wanted to be, when the kids we were training went back to their school and said, I'm working with Fist Football. We never wanted to be like, oh, yeah, don't listen to them. We didn't want to be that. We wanted to be the I don't know. I don't even know what you would call it, but we wanted to be the for everyone coach.
I mean, just picture SpongeBob with the rainbow. Like, this is what
Yeah,
we are.
this is Fist Football. This is what we do.
Well, I just wanted to ask that just in case, because I know somebody out there is going to see that and be like, oh
Oh
my
yeah,
goodness, that they're teaching them what we wanted or something. So I'd rather you, I don't want to say defend yourself, but like, this is what we do. We're for everybody. We're going to get a t-shirt for everybody.
right.
That's your next t-shirt for everybody.
Yeah.
I'll make it and sell it for you. Like, for everybody. This is for everybody. All right, coach. Well, I appreciate your time. I took a lot of it. We went down some rabbit holes, but I appreciate you donating your Thursday night for
Yeah,
this.
absolutely. Anytime I can get on and talk football, coaching, life, whatever, I love it.
Yeah, we
What
don't
I
X
do.
and O a lot. We don't X and O a lot on here because I'd rather have conversation. And then if coaches want to X and O, I always tell them to come back and we'll X and O. We'll get the whiteboard on here and do whatever. But that's next. And you have the invite to come back again. So there's your invite.
Yeah, anytime, man. I appreciate it. A lot of fun.
Well, guys out there that listen, thank you so much. We'll see you next time. See you later.